ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमहायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्सु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै वर्स 20 न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. So it is said here न जायते आत्मा न जायते. This we have to consider. Atma na jayate. Atma is not born. Na mriyate. It doesn't die. So are you able to listen what I am saying? You are able to listen?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes, Swamiji.
yeah, okay. So na atma na jayate, atma na mriyate, kadachit. Never. Atma is never born. Atma never dies. That's what Bhagavad said even in the 12th verse. Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. Right now we'll take it as it is. We have to divide into two parts and we have to supply one word. But anyway, so Atma is something. I am Atma bhutva na bhavita. That's it. Having been born, it comes to existence. It is not. Could you follow? Anything which is born, then you can say it is existent. Otherwise, how will you say? So, Atma is something which is not having been born. We can tell it is existence, etc. Na bhuyaha abhavita. Abhavita we have to supply right now. So, na bhuyaha abhavita. Bhuyaha. Right now it is existent. Abhavita. In future it will become non-existent. That is not. Could you follow what I am saying? So, this is what the Atma is. Then, Ajaha, Nityaha, Shashvataha, Puranaha, Ajaha, Ajanma. Atma is never born. Atma is Nityaha, permanent or eternal. And Shashvataha doesn't undergo any change. Shashvataha means Dhruvaha. It doesn't undergo any change. Puranaha, ever new. Purahapi Navaha. It is ever new. Well, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. And Atma is something, Atma na hanyate. Hanyamane sharire api Atma na hanyate. That is how the syntax is. So, Atma, when the body etc. is destroyed, hanyamane sharire. When the body is destroyed, the self is not destroyed. So, here Bhagavan is, giving the nature of Anatma and nature of Atma, how it's just poles apart. And so we have taken one of the example is that of Anatma is body. So because here the body has been told as it gets killed, it is born, etc., etc. And so we'll compare with it. And we have, so there is, I told you there are 6 modifications of the body. 6 kinds of changes body undergoes. The first modification is called Jayate. Jayate is formed from the Jan Dhatu. Jani Pradurbhave. Pradurbhave means it comes to existence, it comes to manifestation, which was potentially there, now gets manifest. That's called the Janma. And I gave you last time an example of a birth of a idol from a big slab of a stone. So like sculptor, remove certain parts with a chisel and hammer and everything, and then you see there is the idol manifest. Then there is another example also, and that is more appropriate. That this tree is born from the seed. Now that looks very typical, because the tree, we always say tree is potentially there in the seed. That is what the power of the seed is. We call Bija Shakti. Bija Shakti is nothing but to manifest the tree, particular tree. And so the whole tree was there in unmanifest form in a seed. And that looks very, very, very funny, in as much as seed is of a 1 gram and the tree is of tons of weight. How can the tree exist in the seed? And therefore we say no, it cannot be like that, because the weight of the tree etc. is, the whole tree is nothing but all the soil, water and whatever the fertilizer you added. That is the tree. The tree cannot exist in the seed. So then we say it is not so. Like you take any tree, any seed, and supply a particular, same soil you give, same fertilizer you give, same water you give, but what particular desired tree you want from that you won't get. Like you don't have a mango seed. Suppose you want a mango in your garden, right? And then you don't have a mango seed, you cannot go out because it's locked down everything. Then what to do? Whatever the seed is there, you plant. Ultimately the tree is nothing but earth, water and fertilizer. That's what the tree is, because the tree is tons of weight and the seed is just 1 gram, and therefore tree cannot be present in the seed. And therefore any seed you take and just plant it, and ultimately tree is going to be nothing but the soil, water and everything. And therefore even if you take a seed of some other tree, you are going to get mango tree. Well, that will never happen. Mango tree only comes out from mango seed, even though soil, water and the fertilizer, everything will be the same. And therefore it indicates the whole tree was present in the seed in a potential form. Okay, then I want to see the whole tree. How does it look in the seed? You break open the seed, you won't find anything other than some material, some white material, like bus, that's all. You won't find the branches, you won't find the leaves, nothing will be there. That is called potential. So therefore, basically the whole tree comes out from the seed which was potentially there. That's called the birth of the tree. Same way, human body also comes from the seed. That's a male seed and female seed, whatever. So that comes from the seed only. And therefore, birth means what comes out which was potentially there in a seed form. So this is called the first modification of the body, called birth, right? it potentially which was there now gets manifest. Okay, then second is asti. First let me just count it. Ajayate, asti, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. These sixfold modifications of any object. We are taking here an example of a body. Asti. Asti means is. Well, anything is when you can only say when that particular thing is born. Before that you cannot say. Like, even in the seed, even though the mango tree was there, I will not be able to say mango tree is. When it gets manifest, it's in the form of a sprout, etc. When you sow that particular seed, mango seed, if you sow it in a soil and give water, etc., then after some time, the sprout comes out. When it comes out, you will be able to say, yes, mango tree is, in form of a sprout. So, anything that particular, the asti, bhava, vikara is, means it is existent, you can only say when it, when it gets birth. When it comes into when it gets birth, then we can say it is. So this is asti. And this asti, of course, associated with the name form is a borrowed existence. Please kindly remember this. Existence of the body, that's a bhava vikara, that's a modification. Well, it is borrowed from the sat. So please remember that. Swamiji, if asti is associated with the body also and with atma also, then what is the difference? Big difference. One has a borrowed existence, other has a self-existence. And therefore, body, of course, has definitely a borrowed existence, and that since it is borrowed and therefore temporary it is there, well, the same body will become nasti instead of asti. In future, it is going to be nasti since it is borrowed, and therefore it is not its own property. It is not its own attribute, and therefore this asti, which is associated with any name and form, is a borrowed existence. But that's how vikara we call modification, because it is going to be lifelong with that this vikara will be there. But ultimately, with that form gets destroyed, asti becomes nasti. That's how we should know. Is becomes is not, right? And therefore, this asti is called bhava vikara. And in which way it gets? How can it borrow? Well, that's how we call it as a tadatmya dhyasa between sat and any name and form. Sat is which is self-existence, and its nature is existence. Well, when it identifies with a particular name and form, then name and form also have that borrowed attribute that's called existence, and therefore name and form also is now associated with this existence, and we call existent part, existent body, etc., etc. Well, this existent body will become non-existent also, and therefore it is also called modification, change. So asti associated with a name and form, it may be body or it may be something else. Well, it is going to change, and therefore this asti is not sat. Of course, this asti has come in that name and form due to this association with, due to non-separation with the sat. Basically, it is non-separate from anything in the creation, is non-separate from Atma. That's how it is. And therefore, anything which has existence, everything you say is due to that Atma alone. Atma is Sat because it is Sat. Everything looks Sat because it has borrowed Sat, called existence, from the Atma. This is how the second bhavikara asti. Then third thing is vardhate. Vardhate. It grows. So body, first bhavikara is it is born, and with the that particular when anything is born, when body is born, then the second bhavikara is it exists. It is, we can say. Then the third thing is it grows. Body grows, and growth is looked upon as addition of various limbs, right? So from the mango seed, the sprout comes out, and till it becomes a full grown mango tree. Various limbs keep adding to that, and like branches and then leaves and etc., etc., and later on the flowers and fruits and everything. So and it keeps on adding, and that is how a sprout turns into a well grown tree. So generally the vardhate vruddhi or the growth is always looked upon as addition of the limbs. That's how we look upon. And therefore, if Vedanta looks upon the body as nothing but bread, chapati only, it's very, very interesting thing. That's how they always say here this is let's say this is a conference room, 15 people are sitting, then they say 15 breads are sitting. That's how, because why? A very amazing thing. Suppose this is a roti, it is in the plate. When it is in the plate, I call it as a roti. When it goes in, I never say body plus roti. I say body. So, I just say body. I don't know what is the reason. You have added the roti just with a few seconds ago. Then you say body plus roti. What is this? The body plus roti. No, just body. Means what? This roti has become one with body, and therefore Vedanti always say there are 15 rotis are sitting here. They look upon this way, and well, I am laughing, but in Taittiriya Upanishad it has been very beautifully said, Annadeva khalvimani bhutani jayante annena jatani jivanti annam prayanti abhisamvishanti. Annadeva jayante, and therefore khalvimani, khalu means indeed, imani bhutani annat eva jayante. That's how it is. So these all the living beings, the bodies, are born of annam, food, and they are sustained by the food. They go back to the food called earth. Earth is definitely looked upon as a food, and therefore in Chandogya Upanishad, instead of using the word earth, they have used the word annam. The third element, they talk about the whole creation from three elements. And lastly, fire, water and earth. So instead of earth, they don't use Prithvi. Prithvi means earth, but they say annam. Well, because everything, ultimately all food for all the living beings, well, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, all come from earth only. And therefore, this is considered as, the body is considered just as a annam only. And therefore, the body grows with this annam, and definitely different limbs are added, or different limbs which are there grows, whatever you can say. So this is happening in the body. This is a third bhavikara, third modification called growth, vriddhi. Then the fourth one is viparinamate. It's a very, very interesting modification in the body, and when there is a child, so and the parents are there, they say we are raising our children. They use this word. We are raising our children. Means what are you doing? See, when the child is born, they say, when the child is born, it was few kg, maybe 4 kgs or something, and of this man, small hands and small legs and everything small. And now he is 6 feet tall. Who has raised them? We have raised. Means what? Because this growth has happened because we have fed them. Definitely. We have fed him. Basically. Father says, I have earned the food. And mother says, I have prepared the food. And this person has taken just food and jumped around, and he has become a 6 feet tall boy. So they say we have raised our children. As if the child is very small, and as if they have taken a hammer. What blacksmith does, blacksmith takes a big hammer, and then an iron rod is there, and they want to make a sheet of the iron. What they do is, they keep hammering, and definitely a small rod like this much size will turn into a plate with a big size. So these parents are like blacksmiths. They have the small body of a child. They with the hammer, as though they make it a long, 6 feet tall body. Nothing of that sort, sir. At the age of 20, still you are giving him food. Still mother is preparing. In fact, when he was 6 years old, he was not taking that much food. The food that he takes at the age of 20, definitely is taking a lot. Father is still earning the food, mother is still, preparing the food, and he is eating. But at the age of 20, Now instead of he has to grow a little more. Now from 6 feet he has to become 8 feet. It doesn't happen. He keeps on eating. In fact, more than in the childhood. But it just doesn't happen anything. So growth was there up to certain age. That physical growth, body's growth occurs up to certain age. Well, afterwards, nothing. Same thing happens to the tree. Even your rosewood tree, I have heard, is 300 feet or 400 feet, right? It's around, whatever. Whatever. You give me and, you forgive me because I don't have much knowledge. But rosewood tree, I have heard they are very tall. Well, if they are tall, then you think that, yeah, suppose you grow a rosewood tree near Empire State Building. Just imagine. I get all these funny ideas, sitting in the room because of lockdown. All kinds. So near Empire State, you grow that, and you feel it is growing. It's growing. In India, there are certain plants, within few days you find they are so grown, especially bamboo, etc. So this tree is growing and growing, and you think that because I have added water, I have given some nutrients, etc., fertilizer, and that's how they are growing. And so you get greed. You become a greedy that I want to make it grow like the Empire State Building, and you keep on giving water and fertilizer. Well, up to certain point, it will grow. Then it just stops. It is a human body, or it may be any tree, and this is a stage when they cannot grow. Then it is called viparinama. What happens at that time is there is a struggle between a growth and decay, and in that struggle, well, the tree is not able to show up the growth because the decay is pushing it back and the growth is pushing forward. That's called a struggle between vriddhi and apakshaya is going to come. A struggle between a growth and the decay is called viparinama. This is called viparinama. And in that also, between age 20 and 30, you may still find that the growth wins over the decay, but between age 30 and 40, well, decay wins over growth. And therefore, the person starts at the age of 35, he starts getting specs and everything, and even the hair starts falling little bit. Some signs are there of a decay. It happens. Some scientist I have heard of, that human body starts decaying after age of 30. I mean, the doctors may correct me, but I have heard so that it starts decaying, even though externally it doesn't look in a very big phenomena, but it starts definitely decaying. And well, of course, after age of 40, it shows much more signs of decay. But anyway, so this say between growth and decay, the struggle is there for the body, is called viparinama. That's called viparinama. Swamiji, translation of viparinama is viparinama. I don't have a translation because this particular kind, I don't know. I have whether in medical language they may be having some word, I don't know, but I don't have any word. So I'm keeping it as it is, viparinama. And then the fifth one is fifth modification of the body. I mean, of any body, we are talking about this human body. Apakshiyate. Apakshiyate is the fifth modification. It is exactly opposite to the second modification, the third modification, vardhate. It is just opposite. In vardhate, in vriddhi, in growth, different limbs are added. In apakshaya, different limbs start going away. Right? So, in one there are addition of the limbs. In apakshaya, the limbs are going away. Several, you will see, this is beautiful. In a tree you will find, and when apakshaya starts, several branches, they get dry, and they slowly fall down. and it becomes lean also. Anyway, so this is how. In plantain, I have seen very beautifully this thing. In a plantain tree, when it comes out, then the leaves are very small, small leaves, and then it grows, and then leaves become so big, big leaves, and it gives that way for many years. I mean, for few years it will give you big leaves. Then you will find that the leaves starts, whatever the new leaves are coming out, they are comparatively small. Then another leaves which are new leaves are coming out, they are still smaller and still smaller, and then it stops, and then gets dried. So this is called apakshaya. When the leaves start becoming small, new leaves which are coming out, they become again small. Initially they are small, but then they give because of the growth, vruddhi, big leaves come out, but then again it gives you a small leaves. So this is how the body also is, become, earlier it was having a lot of power and a lot of energy. Now now apakshaya means its energy has become, now it has decreased now. We have seen even, I think, what does Muhammad Ali was a big wrestler, and his body was, 8 packs, 6 packs, whatever it may be. But lastly he got disease, and his body has become so loose. He was carried also in our wheelchair. That's how it is. So people, when they go to gym, generally they feel that they will make a certain, they will build the body. Well, you can build the body. If you stop going to gym, you will find within 2 years that your body becomes loose. This is how it is. And therefore, anyway, so apakshiyate means it starts decaying. And Bhashyakara is, our Shankaracharya ji has very beautifully told in Bhajagovindam, Angam Galitam Palitam Mundam, Dashana Vihinam Jatam Tundam. Dashana means this teeth, Dashana Vihinam. So in a old age, Angam Galitam, all the limbs have just started decaying. Palitam Mundam. Mundam is this head. Palitam. Palitam means like me. It has become bad. And Dashana Vihinam. Dashana Vihinam means this, the mouth, etc. is devoid of all the teeth, etc. This is apakshaya of the body. Anyway, so that way all the forms, we take an example of a body, this body, human body, but you can take any example and you can see this vikaras in them, in modifications in them. And the last one is vinashyati, vinasha. The destruction is the last modification. That's correct. So now the big question is, if vinash, how can you call the destruction as a modification? Because when things get destroyed, they are not there at all. When you say things modify, means thing has to exist, right? Without existing the thing itself has not remained, and you say it has modified, it has changed into something else. Well, that's not correct. That's not correct. We have already defined. So we have, that's how I said I have defined this nashaha, destruction, earlier by giving you the meaning of the root, nash adarshane. Means that particular form you will not be able to see because it has transformed into another form. And therefore there is never a totally non-existence in destruction. Destruction means that particular form is not visible to us. That's all. Adarshanam means not visible. That form is not visible. Like this human body, when it puts on a fire, definitely this will go, but transforms into ash. So ash, it will be converted into something else. That's how this we call the vikara, the last vikara called destruction of the body also is correct, because still body is there in another form. That will be there. So that is the last modification in which that particular form itself transformed into another form. And so like the pot gets destroyed, then you definitely get the pieces of the clay, etc. And so definitely it transforms. So we say destruction of pot is nothing but definitely the change of that particular form. And this is how the six vikaras are there, and very beautifully told by Nachiketa to his father. Anupashye yatha purve pratipashye tatha pare sasyamiva martyah pachyate sasyamiva jayate punah. In Kathopanishad, very nicely Nachiketa told to his father. His father had performed a very big, ritual in which he is supposed to give cows as a dakshina, as a danam to all the Brahmins. And then he thought, my son is still very young and I have to keep, because in those days cow was considered as a wealth. Of course, there was like everything was in barter system. So they were not having a hard currency because they were not printing press. And so all the wealth generally is considered in terms of either your land or like whatever number of cows you have, etc., etc. So he wants to keep that wealth, the cows, good cows for his own son, for his future living. And so he has started giving all this dilapidated and the cows which are not able to give any milk, all these cows he has started giving to after the ritual was over, he has started giving to these Brahmins. And Nachiketa saw that. And he thought, my father will, perform so big ritual, and just for the few cows he is going to lose the entire fruit of the ritual, because that's a part of the ritual to give good dakshina, donating all the cows to the, and you should give the good cows, etc. And what he is giving is not good, and therefore he comes near and then advises. And at the time he says this philosophical statement to his father: Anupashye yatha purve pratipashye tatha pare sasyamiva martyah pachyate sasyamiva ajayate punah. Like he gives an example. Sasyam means a dhanyam, crop, any crop. It may be a paddy, let's say, paddy. Then paddy, when from the paddy seed, whatever is there, they grow and then sprout comes out. They grow in together in a particular place, and then all sprouts they come out. They take all that whole bunch and they plant then separate in the whole field with water inside. And then it will grow. Definitely, they generally grow in monsoon where there will be a lot of rainfall also. And then it starts growing, and it grows, and you feel the whole entire field is so green, rich green. And afterwards, the flowers come out of that because they become mature, and so the flowers come out, and in which there are all these our paddies there. And they keep it as it is. Then slowly that entire particular that plant of that paddy starts becoming yellow, and after some time you feel that entire field is yellow in color. Still you keep it as it is. Then they just get dried there itself, entire field. Every plant gets dried. They die also, and then they cut it and take out the paddy. So sasyam iva ajayate. So he compares that paddy plant with this body. So the way it just comes out, it sprouts, it takes a birth, and then it grows, then it becomes mature, and then it viparinamaha means it becomes mature, and then it starts decaying, becoming yellow, and then vinashyati, dies, means it becomes totally dried out. And that is how all the six vikaras are there in the crop. And in how many months all these modifications takes place? 2 months. Just 2 months or 3 months. That's all. Not much. So he says our body is like this. Our body is like this, and it's also like sasyam. It has all these six vikaras. And like sasyam, like this crop itself, this also is going to die within no time. Within no time. And therefore, don't do all this. For sake of this body, keeping alive the body, don't do this kind of a thing of giving all this dilapidated cows to the Brahmins, etc. The cows which are very old, they cannot give birth to the calves and everything. You should not give this kind of cows, and for a short life, or for a short human life. That's how he gave this example. Anupashya yatha purve pratipashya tatha pare. Just look what has gone before and what is going to come in future. In between the human life we have. We are, this jiva basically who is residing in the body is anadi, and he has to travel to several janmas now. And there, what wealth is going to be useful is your punyam, born out of these rituals. And therefore, please don't do this for this short life of short human life which is present right now. It's nothing but like a crop. That's how he gave this example. In short, all these 6 vikaras have been shown with the example of this body has been shown with the example of sasyam. Anyway, so this is how the thing is. Now let's go to the shloka itself. Najayate mriyate va kadachit. Now, first I will tell you what is the difference between a Kathopanishad mantra and this. Because in Kathopanishad this mantra is there, and Bhagavan has quoted in order to validate what he is teaching to Arjuna. So he says, Najayate mriyate va vipashit in Kathopanishad. Vipashit means the wise person. Najayate mriyate. This wise person does not die, does not he doesn't get birth also. So the vipashit, the meaning of the vipashit is the wise person who knows the Atma as that Atma is not subject to, Atma means himself, is not subject to birth and not subject to the death. But here Bhagavan has said, na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Instead of vipashit, Bhagavan has used the word kadachit. Because here Bhagavan is just describing the nature of the self. There, of course, the nature of the self has been described. At the same time, one who knows the Atma in such a manner, one who knows oneself in such a manner, definitely two people are waiting. My God, people come late and then they are waiting room. Okay. So, anyway, I lose a link. So this is how, what I am saying is, so Vipashit means the Vidwan or the wise person, who knows this Atma himself as very clearly that he is not born, he doesn't die. And whereas here Kadachit means never. Na Kadachit means never. Na Jayate Mriyate va Kadachit means he is never, Atma is never born, Atma never dies. That's how the meaning is. So here it is just describing the nature of the self. In Kathopanishad, nature of the self is described, but it has been shown as a result of a wise person. That wise person who knows the Atma and such, well, he never dies and he is never born. And na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Now let's take this one. So Atma is never born, never dies, and therefore you should not, Bhagavan is telling to Arjuna that you should not grieve for basically this Bhishma, etc., because the body is going to die. Well, but the Atma is not subject to death and birth. Now, here, and this I am not describing much because we have already discussed. What happens is, in verse number 12, we have given enough logic that when we discuss this part, Natve Vaham Jatu Nasam Natvam Neme Janadipaha, etc. Bhagavan said, it's not that I was never born. There was never a time when I was not. That was the thing. There was never a time you were not. And there was never a time when all these people who are standing in this Kurukshetra also, they were not. That's what Bhagavan said. Means you were ever existent. Because Atma is existence, basically. So you were ever existent. So definitely Bhagavan is referring. Bhagavan is telling you were, there was never a time you were not. But then Bhagavan is not referring to Arjuna's body. Definitely, because Arjuna's body was not existent before its birth. And therefore Bhagavan is referring to just a consciousness or Atma. So there we discussed that, and I have shown you that even we cannot prove the birth of Atma. No way we can prove birth of Atma. No way we can prove the death of Atma also. Well, for birth of the body, at least I am not the pramanam. I am not considered as a valid means of knowledge, because I don't know my birth in terms of body. Well, but my parents are there, definitely. So they can tell that he is born, he or she is born, definitely. And therefore, for a birth of body, you will always get a proof. But for a birth of Atma, well, there is no proof. For death of body, of course, he himself is not a proof, but others are proof that this person died, etc. So for birth of body and death, definitely there is a proof. But for birth of and death of Atma, there is no proof. Why? Why there is no proof? Because to prove what you require, you please tell me that there. You know, what happens is, like, let's say Atma is born. Let's say Atma is born. See, birth indicates what? In the previous moment it was not, and now it is there. So you say it is born. Like daily I go to temple from here, I find some new thing daily, because being a spring. So I see some flower which was not, as bloom properly today. Tomorrow it has really blossomed. So I can say now the flower is born, etc. Well, so when in a previous moment something is not there, in the next moment it is there, then I can say, yeah, this thing is born. Now, in a previous moment, Atma should not be there. In next moment, Atma should be there. To prove that, or for evidence of that, what you require is Atma. So, Atma should prove its own birth. Well, that will never happen. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. And to prove the death of Atma, for evidence of death of the Atma, Atma alone is required. And therefore, basically, no one can prove death of Atma or a birth of Atma. Everybody can prove birth and death of body, well, but no one can prove this. And therefore, no one can prove one's own birth. It is impossible. Then you require another Atma. Then that Atma is born or not, that's another problem. So this is called anavastha. That also I have to explain you. There are 4 kinds of doshas. This is one of the dosha, anavastha. Anavastha means infinite regression. You can never arrive at the final thing, never arrive at the truth. Well, and therefore, there is. But then somebody said Atma is not born and Atma is not subject to death. Well, you by this logic, you cannot prove it. In as much as, even though Atma itself cannot be proved to be born or to be subject to death, we want to say that Atma is subject to birth and subject to death. How will you not prove it also? We say we cannot do it. But Shruti says Atma is not born, and we accept it and then apply logic and try to understand it. Well, that's only we can say. So the Atma is devoid of birth and Atma is devoid of death. It cannot be proved. Same way, Atma is born also cannot be proved. Atma dies also cannot be proved. Either of this paksha cannot be proved. But we take the help of the Shruti, in as much as Atma is a subject matter. Atma is something for which Shruti only is a pramana, because our own senses cannot prove the existence of Atma or non-existence of Atma. Inasmuch as Atma is a Shabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Arasam, Nityam, Gandhavat, Atma does not have any attributes by which it can become an object of senses. And well, so to the means of knowledge available to the human being, Atma is never available as an object, and therefore its existence, non-existence, birth, death, etc. cannot be told. Then we should take into account a independent means of knowledge, well, in which entire this kind of things are described, which are apaurushaya, which are not available for the human knowledge, for the human perception, etc. And therefore, giving weightage to that, we take it that Atma is Atma is not born, Atma doesn't die. And we give you a supporting logic also, which is called Shruti Sammata Tarkaha. Well, and we give you some logic in order to understand and assimilate this fact. Okay, now let's go ahead. So, na jayate mriyate va kadachit, we have explained. Nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah. See, there are two negations, two nakaras are there in the verse. If you see, you will find it. Najayate mriyate va kadachit, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya. In this single line itself, na ayam means this Atma. Na ayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya. Two negations are there. So when there are two negations, we take two independent sentences. That's all. Advantage. We take an advantage of these two negations, two nakaras. So I'm making these two sentences. Please kindly see this. First sentence will be Nayam bhutva bhavita. I will explain you in English. Nayam bhutva bhavita. You just look into the verse. In that you will find this Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyah. So first part is Nayam bhutva bhavita. This is one thing. Then second part is na bhuyah abhavita. Now you will feel that Swamiji, that abhavita word is not there. You are adding. Yes, I am adding. In Shastra there are two things we have to keep this thing in mind. Whenever we read Bhashyam or anything, these two things we have to keep in mind. One is called anuvritti. Anuvritti means you pull down some word which was previously there in previous passages. Some word which is already there, you pull down here in order to make the sense complete of a sentence. In order to make the sentence complete in terms of its meaning, you pull down a particular word from the previous passage. It's called anuvritti. And the second thing is called adhyahara. Adhyahara means that now you want to supply some word, but that word is not there in the previous passage, but you just take it out from the literature, from your knowledge of the words. You take the word. It's not there in the passage, but you take it in order to make the sense complete. Adhyahara means you add a particular word and in order to make the sense complete. And these things also are very common in our parlance also. When husband and wife goes out, and then definitely before sitting in a car, then husband, generally wife tells door door means he understands very door is to be closed. Now is to be closed, even though she doesn't utter, but the person understands. That's called adhyara. So otherwise it doesn't make sense. Door means what? It doesn't make sense. To make the sense complete, he has to, otherwise he will not get food, otherwise in the week. So many times we use lock. What lock? Okay, have you locked the door or not? So all other words you are supplying. Well, from where? From my own understanding, from the context. Please understand this. Context is very important. That is where the smartness lies. Smartness of a person lies to understand the context. That's all it is. Whole game is of understanding the context, really. If one doesn't understand the context, one is considered as a fool in transactional reality. Right? Like I told you, I think I have given you an example, or maybe in Panchadashi, I don't know. But in the morning, this person, our gentleman, he's reading a newspaper, and he's sitting in a drawing room and reading a newspaper, and from the neighbor, the person comes and he wants to talk because the whole day he remained in the home and locked, and so in morning he came and to discuss about corona, etc., whatever. So he just comes and sits, and then this gentleman calls his wife and just says tea. Just so tea with chai. So then she understands. Huh? She doesn't bring that Vag Bakri, that particular dibba, take out that particular green leaf, the leaves also, and bring it here. She understands tea means what. And sometimes she understands tea means along with some biscuits, etc. Everything is understood. So context makes you understand. The context is somebody has come, and in that context, tea leaves cannot be, brought. So it's very important to understand the context. And that's how we have so many words which are common. In Bhagavad Gita, Atma word is used several times. But don't think that everywhere Atma means Satchidananda Atma. Atma word is used for mind, Atma word is used for body. Even in Kathopanishad also, Atma word is used for body. Atmendriya manoyuktam Atma bhokta iti uchyate. There is a definition of bhokta in a Kathopanishad. Atmendriya manoyuktam. Atmendriya, Atma indriya manaha yuktam. So associated with the mind and then senses, then you have to put what? Atma's meaning should be body. So Atma's meaning is body. The Atma, which is a conscious entity or consciousness associated with this body, mind, sense complex, is a bhokta, etc. That's how it is definition. And therefore, we have to understand the context. Without context, if one cannot understand the Shastra, unlocking the Shastra, meaning of the Shastra would be impossible if you won't understand the context. If one doesn't understand the context, Shastra will appear for that person contradictory. Anyway, so here I am supplying the word abhavita. That's all it means. Abhavita. In order to make the sense complete. Of which part? Nava bhuya. That's all it has been told. To make that sentence complete, I am adding the word abhavita. That's called adhyahara. Why it is called adhyahara and not anuvritti? Because this abhavita word has not come in the previous passage. It has never come. And therefore, we can take these two parts and now we can understand this. Na ayam means this. This means Atma. Na ayam Atma bhutva bhavita. Having been born, this Atma is existent, cannot be told. Na. Keep the na separate. Ayam Atma bhutva bhavita iti na. That's all. Ayam Atma bhutva. Having born, this Atma is considered bhavita, is considered existent iti na. That is not so. Is it clear now? Second part. Nava bhuyaha abhavita. Bhuyaha, which is existent now. Ayam Atma bhuyaha. This Atma which is existent now, abhavita, will not exist in future. Iti na, that is not. Clear now? So, to make understanding clear, we have made into two parts, and in one part we have supplied a particular word. Anyway, so what it indicates, already we have seen, of course, we have already seen this, that this Atma, having been born, this Atma comes to existence, it is not. Means its existence is independent of the birth. Its existence is independent of the birth means Atma does not get birth. That's all it means. Anything which is born and then you can say it is, well, it is not self-existent thing. It has to take birth and then you can say it is, like human body. Once it is born, you say it is. Now sun is born and you say now sun is, right? That's how it is. And therefore, if for Atma it is not so, then definitely Atma's existence is independent of the birth. Unlike the entire world of names and forms, or forms. Names are given, of course, that also has a birth, but it has been given by human being only. So all the forms which are born, once they are born, then you can say they are. Like pot is born on potter's will by the pot maker. Then you say now pot is. Before that you cannot say. Well, when it was potentially, I told you already, birth means this particular part which is manifest now, it was there in a potential form. When it was potentially there, you were not telling pot is. You were definitely telling clay is. A lump of clay is. But you were not telling me, even though you know, you are Vedanta and you know that the pot exists in a clay in a potential form, but still you are not able to tell me pot is. You are able to tell pot is only when it becomes manifest. It takes birth. That's birth. Birth means manifestation. So, I mean, entire Jagat, which is subject to death, well, its existence is proved after the birth. And that's how it is bhavikara. It becomes nasti also, etc. Form becomes non-existent also. But for Atma, it is not. Having been born, Atma is considered as existent. It is not. Means Atma need not be born. For what? For existence. Means what? Atma is self-existent. Atma is self-existent, being Sat. Now for me it is very easy because in morning all this chakkar is going on. And therefore for me it is very easy to use directly word Sat or self-existent. And Nava Bhuyaha Bhavita. Right now Atma is, I am. Well, in future I will become non-existence. Iti na, Bhagavan says, well, it is not. Means I will be there all the time. That also Bhagavan has told in the 12th verse. This thing Bhagavan has told in 12th verse. There was never a time when I was not. There will never be a time I will not be there. It is the same thing. Means Atma is not subject to birth. Atma is not subject to death. In future I will become non-existence means Atma will die. It is not, means Atma is not subject to death. Atma's existence being independent, well, it was ever there and it will be ever there. That's all, because it's nature. Atma's nature is just an existence. Anyway, and therefore, we'll consider then two things are there. There are two pakshas, one of a Muslim logs, all this, they have some funny idea about Atma and well, our Bauddhas also. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.